Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of former collegiate athletes who have transitioned from the competitive world of college sports to the grueling but rewarding world of endurance racing. Each episode, we bring on athletes who have gone from courts, fields, and tracks to marathons, triathlons, and even ultras. School's back in session. Welcome to the show. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Jamal from Running State University, and on this episode, we have Alexander Levengood from William and Mary University and San Diego State University, where he played soccer at both schools. In 3 seasons at William and Mary, he was crowned first-team All-Coastal Athletic Association 3 times before playing his final year at San Diego State University. After graduating, he's run 5 marathons with a personal best of 3:07, while also mixing a little bit of fashion into the story. Lev, let's talk about your retired athlete mentality. How have you been?
Let's do it. Good. I'm great, Jamal. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying some nice weather. I call this the shorts and long sleeve t-shirt weather here in the Virginia area.
That's the best combo.
Great.
That's the best combo, the long sleeve and shorts. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I know sometimes it's like warm enough for a t-shirt, but I just feel like the long sleeves are comfortable and it keeps me warm.
Yeah, and it'll get you warmer faster. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah, because I need to warm up quick.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's get started. So you actually go by Lev, is that right?
Yeah, that was a nickname that was given to me in high school.
Okay.
On the soccer field because people didn't want to say Levengood or Alexander.
Yeah.
It's too long. Like when you're
Yeah.
running, you can't say like a nine letter word. So they were just like Lev, just quick and easy Lev. So I've kind of gone on and off of people calling me that for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 1-syllable name. That's like a quick pass. You need them to turn their head and it's there.
Exactly.
So you have been pretty open on your social media about your story. How did you start with soccer growing up?
Yeah, so I was 3 years old when I first started playing. My parents always like to say that my first word was ball, which I think you hear a lot of people say. But yeah, I was kind of just drawn into soccer immediately. My dad is a big soccer fan. He played in high school and just kind of like adult league and stuff. So I would go to his games growing up, and I just kind of fell in love with it. So started playing since I was 3. Played for various club teams, and then played for my high school, which was probably the best experience I had growing up playing soccer, just because we had a really good team and it was just super fun. And then was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go play at William and Mary, a really great school in Williamsburg, Virginia. Played 4 years there. We had kind of up and down seasons, some good, some not so good. And then after that, with COVID, had my 5th year and took it to go to San Diego State. I always like to say that Williamsburg, Virginia, and San Diego, California, are the 2 most polar opposite places in the world. So got to have 2 really cool experiences. But other than that, after that, I was pursuing professional soccer for a little over a year, which is my dream since I was about 3 years old. Had a couple of chances, trials, but ultimately didn't work out. And that was kind of more or less short synopsis of my running story. I mean, my soccer story.
Yeah. And so let's dissect that a little bit. So you in high school, you played club, you played high school ball, which is normal for, a young kid in high school. At what point did recruiting get into the picture for soccer?
Yeah, so we weren't able to talk to any coaches until I believe it was like June 1st of your junior year or something.
Yeah.
So it was junior year that we started. Funny enough, I went to William and Mary's camp for like their recruiting camp as a freshman, and I actually won the MVP of the camp, which was super funny. So he knew of me pretty early, which was great. And they were the first school to contact me. Really showed interest from the beginning, and I was pretty drawn to them pretty quickly because also it's an incredible academic school. So that was a big thing for me as well.
Yeah, and William and Mary is, like you said, a really good school. Was there soccer your main sport when you were growing up, or did you play anything else?
Yeah, funny enough, I really didn't play many other sports growing up. I tried like basketball, I tried, baseball, things like that, but soccer was always just kind of the one that I that I stuck to. I guess it was because I was pretty good at it too. So I was like, I'm more drawn to a sport that I'm decent at. But ultimately, that was kind of the sport that I stuck to. Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah, so I was kind of all over the place. I grew up starting with baseball,
Mm.
and then my parents actually were not big fans of football growing up, so I didn't even start playing football till, like the 8th grade, and then into high school, started playing there. But then eventually went on to play college sports.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. I did baseball and ran track, played football in high school, and so I kind of went all over the place.
Yeah. I always wanted to play football as a kid, but my mom wouldn't let me. So,
Yeah, it's a dangerous sport, but if you do it right, hopefully it all works out.
yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. And so, when you got to William and Mary, it sounded like you made an immediate impact. You were the MVP your freshman year of high school at their camp, and then you got there, and then you started making an impact. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I went in as a freshman. I think it's pretty typical. Like you go into freshman year, you're not really sure what to expect. But I got in there, and the first couple preseason games was on the bench playing probably 20, 30 minutes a game. And then right before our first game, the person who was kind of in front of me, who was playing in front of my position, I was like an attacking midfielder. He got injured, and I came in, started the first game, scored in the first game, and kind of from there started every game, played a ton since my freshman year. So the getting used to college soccer period for me, I didn't really have a period where it was like, oh, I was playing some and not playing. Like I just jumped right into playing a lot, which is exactly what you want as a freshman. And with that came, learning very fast about the college game and learning how to kind of get up to speed a lot quicker, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but you got to perform when you're on the field, and I was able to do that as a freshman and just continue to play a lot.
Yeah, did your mentality in high school, being on a really successful team help you with going straight into, playing in a full role in that freshman year?
Yeah, I think that, from kind of when I was a young kid, you can't see me now on the screen, but I'm not the tallest person. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. I've always been instilled like working really, really hard. Like, I think I always like to say that it's going to be very hard to find someone who works as hard as I will. And I've kind of always worn that kind of badge of, I'm going to try to outwork everybody. And so being on a successful high school team, I saw the hard work paying off. And so when I'm going to college, you just have to continue that. You have to be able to take that work ethic, make sure that it's, being devoted in the right places, learning to adapt to the system that the coach wants to play and everything. And ultimately, I had instilled that earlier through my experiences in high school and growing up into that college role, which I think helped me a lot because I had a work ethic that was really good before getting to college.
Yeah, I love that mentality of just being the hardest worker out there. And not only does that make you better, but it makes the people around you better because they're trying to compete with you.
Exactly.
Especially at the college level when you are, it's not for fun anymore. It's to compete, and everybody's trying to get a position on the field.
Exactly. And I'm sure that you can attest to this too, as being a college athlete. You get there, from being one of the better players on your high school team or your club team, and then all of a sudden everybody's good, So you can probably speak to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it was a tough run because I had a couple years of students ahead of me.
Hmm.
I had sophomores and juniors, so there was a lot of turbulence with playing time, and it didn't work out for me. But I'd still try to be, the hardest worker out there, and still made the
Hmm.
team better, which was
Yeah.
which was my goal.
Yeah. It's one of the only things you can control. So
Yeah.
ultimately, you gotta take full ownership of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you did 4 years at William and Mary, and so that included a COVID year, right?
That was yeah. So that we played like 6 games that
Yeah.
2020 COVID season. It was really small.
Yeah. How did that go? Was that weird? Like, what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, it was strange. I mean, you go from playing an 18, 20 game season to playing 6. You're wearing masks in during practice, and like in soccer you're sweating so much because you're running so much, so like your
Yeah.
the mask is like making you get like acne on your face because
Oh
you're
no.
sweating and everything. But yeah, it was, I mean, it was definitely strange. You weren't like going through, it was what I thought was the hardest part was, you kind of develop a little bit of like a pregame routine. I'm not like
Yeah.
superstitious, but I do like to do certain things, and that got completely changed, obviously,
Yeah.
with being in locker rooms was, you had to limit the amount of people in there. So that
Yeah.
was definitely an interesting time in my college career.
Yeah. And you, after your 4 years at William and Mary, you took your fifth year. And is it considered going into the transfer portal for your fifth year, or is it just graduating?
Yep, it was going into my transfer portal. So I did that after my fall of my senior year.
Okay. And so you played your final year at San Diego State. How did that process work for you getting from William and Mary to San Diego State?
Yeah, it was interesting. So I entered the transfer portal and had a lot of some pretty good interests, but I knew I wanted to play in a really good soccer conference. I wanted to play in the ACC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12, and San Diego State was in the Pac-12. So when San Diego State reached out to me, I also had the mentality of I want to do something very different for my fifth year. I don't want to, go to another Virginia school or things like that. Like I
Yeah.
want to do something completely different. And so I said, when San Diego State, I had been to San Diego like 2 years before that, loved it. I mean, it's hard not to when you go
Yeah.
visit that city, but I went there, and when they reached out, I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Get to play in the Pac-12 against, UCLA and Stanford and Cal, and like before it fell apart, it was a really, really fun experience to play against all those big time teams. It was a big challenge, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's is definitely the polar opposite, like we talked about going from William and Mary to San Diego State. And again, I agree. I've been to San Diego once or twice, and it is a great city. So going from William and Mary to San Diego is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you, so you kind of just like packed up and you flew, did you fly everything out there and just, call it your new home?
Yeah, I packed 2 suitcases and flew out there, got an apartment with 2 other teammates who were 5th years as well,
Oh,
and they were
nice.
they were I mean, they were really awesome teammates, like guys that I, talk to pretty frequently still today.
Yeah.
And so we were out there for 8 months, played my season there, enjoyed the San Diego kinda life, got a graduate certificate as well.
Nice.
So it was a really, really cool experience. The soccer was, it was a tough season. It was a really tough season, to be quite honest. We
Yeah.
we started the season hot. I mean, we didn't give up a
Mm.
goal in like 8 games. We were ranked nationally. I think we got as high as maybe 18 or 17, something like that. And I'd never been ranked before, so I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, like this is pretty legit." Like getting to
Yeah.
see yourself in the NCAA rankings,
Yeah.
thinking about going to the tournament. And then we got into Pac-12 play, and it was just crazy. I mean, you're playing
Yeah.
against the best teams in the country, and we just didn't do super well. Tied a couple games, but lost a bunch, and ultimately didn't make the NCAA tournament, which was tough. But that was a season where I learned like so much about like myself, about what I want in team, what I'm looking for in a team, what I'm looking for in coaches, what I'm looking for in how I respond to new challenges, because I never really experienced something like that before. So it wasn't exactly the way that I wanted my fifth year to go, but it was a really, really great experience for me to have.
Yeah, and you kind of allude to it, but like, what were the major differences between William and Mary and SDSU?
Yeah, I think that it was interesting because, as you know, like William and Mary is a really, really strong academic school.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people going there focusing a ton on academics. And so that's a huge, huge, emphasis through our coach. He's talking a lot about academics, keeping your grades up. And so when I went to San Diego State, bigger school, bigger program, bigger conference, it was a little bit more of like a professional environment in that way. I mean, every
Mm,
single guy on the team wants to go play professional soccer.
yeah.
You're fighting every single day for your starting spot. You're fighting every single day for playing time. And so that was a little bit of a difference, because when I was at William and Mary, I was like a 4-year starter, started, every single game of my career besides one. So it was like I kind of always knew I was going to play a ton and I was going to be one of the main guys. And then when I got there, it was like, hey, like, you know, you're one of 11 guys on this field who are all just as good. So that was probably the biggest adjustment that I had to make.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, some people have to make that decision, and I've talked about this before on this podcast, but some people have to make that decision in their senior year of high school where they'll go to a school that they know that they could probably play a ton,
Mhm.
or they'll go to a school where, the risk is higher and they may or may not play. And it just depends on, what happens with the team. And so you've got to experience it both. And so with that final year, you talked about it a little bit. You had aspirations of playing pro. What did that look like after graduating?
Yeah, so I signed with an agency, a pretty decent sized agency that has a big presence in the US and Scandinavia. And so I worked with an agent and he got me set up with a couple of trials. The first one I went to was in Los Angeles for the LA Galaxy, their second team. And it was tough because you get there and you're competing with a ton of other guys who have agents who have been, put on this trial. And the thing about the second teams with the MLS teams is that it's a lot of like younger academy kids who are going to be playing, and they're going to be trying to develop. So you have to really, really stand out as a non-academy college kid coming into one of these settings. And I went there and, to be quite honest, like I played pretty well, but I don't think I was at my best. I think I was a bit nervous. I mean, I think when you walk into those buildings and you're seeing, you drive up to the complex and you're seeing statues of David Beckham, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
wow, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And you just do feel that extra bit of pressure. They're telling you you're going to be here for 2 weeks. You have a trial, then we're going to assess if we want to sign you or not. And I think that was one of the first times where I felt a little bit I never really felt super nervous for events. Like I always backed myself in my abilities to be able to
Hmm.
perform. And I think that when I got into that setting, the first trial I had, I was nervous and I don't think I did as well as I would have liked to. And ultimately it didn't result in a contract. So I went to that trial and then went to another one, actually did really well in there. They said they really liked me, but I guess it just didn't pan out. And so then I had a big, big down period where I wasn't going to any trials. I was at home just training by myself, just kind of
Yeah.
waiting. And that is that is the hardest part of all of this. It's
Mm.
not the practices, it's not the games. It
Yeah.
is the mental aspect of waiting and, just hoping that, your agent's going to text you and say, "Hey, you have another opportunity." And so I got another opportunity in Nashville for the MLS's second team, and
Mm.
2 days in, I tore a ligament in my ankle just going into a unfortunate like tackle, and my ankle just got caught up and I tore my ligament. And they were really nice. They let me rehab there and everything, but ultimately it just wasn't right, and they needed to look for other players, so it just didn't work out. So was in that kind of waiting period again, then was training with my local team here in Richmond and was hoping maybe they would sign me at some point, maybe not, and trained there for a couple months, and then it just didn't happen. And through all of that, I was kind of looking for job opportunities and kind of thinking about what was next, and decided after that experience that I was going to kind of hang up the boots and move on to the next thing in my life.
Yeah, that's one hell of an experience because going from high school to college, it's a small percentage, and then college to professional sports is an even smaller percentage. So it takes a lot to get to the professional level. And,
Hmm.
it's not as glamorous as, watching the NFL draft, or it's more like what's that NFL show? I don't remember what it's called. Where not hard is it, maybe Hard Knocks, where you
Hard
can you
knocks,
can
yeah.
see, yeah, you can see
Yeah.
where they're some people make it and some people don't, and you get all emotional for the ones that don't, because that's potentially the end of their story. And so it's
Hmm.
it's a tough road. And I mean, it sounds like you took it well because it projected you into the workforce, I'm assuming, and then you moved into endurance racing. And so
Hmm.
at what point did you start doing marathons?
Yeah, it was right after that. I stopped playing soccer in, it was like September, and I signed up for my first race in September. So I
Oh,
was
nice.
so yeah, it was kind of funny cuz I think a lot of athletes when they are going through, trying to play professionally or getting out of college, and they kind of don't know what they want to do next. Like they want to kind of keep that competitive edge, they want to stay fit, but they don't really know what they want to do. I always knew I wanted to do marathons. My
Yeah.
mom my mom growing up ran races, so I was always like a little kid at these races, and
Yeah.
I would see the fans. I would see the fans cheering. I would see my
Yeah.
mom finish with her medal, and it's like, how can you not kind of fall in love with that
Yeah.
experience? And so I knew that when soccer was over, like running and marathon training was what I really really wanted to do. So signed up for the Philadelphia Marathon in maybe it was August. I think it was August, but yeah,
Yeah.
signed up in August, started training, and ran my first one in that November.
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround. That
Yeah,
it's a late marathon, which is good, but
yeah,
I think as a professional and high level college soccer player, endurance is there.
hmm
So you don't necessarily need to go from ground zero, which is good. But you start in August and then you do your first marathon in November, which is awesome. What was that experience like? Yeah, I usually will get horror stories for first marathons, but what was it for you?
yeah. It was the hardest. I always still say it's the hardest thing I ever did, like athletically. Like it was. I always thought, oh, I'll try playing, 90 minutes of soccer 3 times a week, but that 26.2 miles was I was hurting at the end. So I
Yeah,
I I always like to say it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I had so much fun. Highly suggest anybody who's interested in running the Philadelphia Marathon to do it because the crowd support there is like it's probably 22 out of the 26 miles people are cheering you on, which is
yeah,
pretty rare I think in a lot of marathons. So it was super super fun, and I always remember the moment that kind of knew like I was going to continue to do this. My mom gave me this advice like the night before. She was like, when you get to mile like 24, take and just experience the crowd. And it was the best advice anybody could have ever given me, and it would be the advice that I would give anyone who runs marathons, because no song, no podcast, nothing can push you the way that the crowd can for those last 2 miles.
yeah.
And so like just hearing everybody, I was like, wow, like I'm in love with this. Like this is pretty unreal. So it was very hard, but it was also very like incredible moment for me.
Yeah, I've actually done I think I can't remember what year, but it was probably a couple 3 years ago, maybe 2 or 3
hmm
years ago. I did the Philly half, and that's so true. The
Yeah.
fans are incredible. There's people everywhere. You kind of and the nice thing about that route, if I remember correctly, is you kind of stay with the full for a decent amount of time,
hmm
and then you split off a little bit, and then I think you see the full again at some point, and it's just a great route, great course, and I think that course has my half PR,
Oh
and
yeah.
I yeah, and so I think I need to go back and try and get that again.
What's the half
Um,
PR?
Half PR is 134,
Whew.
um, and
You're moving.
I think I like nearly, I think I nearly tied it in the middle of like a marathon train up, which was pretty wild.
Oh wow.
So
That's pretty
I'm
cool.
there. I'm not cracking it yet. I've
Yeah.
this past winter and fall, I've kind of been up and down with running, but
Mm.
I'm hoping this fall will turn out okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What was your first marathon?
My first marathon was the Atlantic City Marathon,
Oh.
and it was definitely what most people will say is just like the horror story of just like hitting the real wall in at mile 20, and just like I think every marathon I've hit a wall at some point, but it's just like that wall was a brick wall, and the most recent marathon was like a cardboard wall that was like, okay, I can get through this.
hmm
And so
Yeah.
that was just, I was looking for my first marathon. I wanted it to be flat. Like I didn't want it to be crazy. So I did it in Atlantic City. I got there. It wasn't raining, but the wind, because it's right
Oof.
there by the water,
Yeah, yeah.
was howling. And it wasn't a route that had like many people on it.
Okay.
Like you finish on the boardwalk and you would think that'd be cool, but it was just like a boardwalk crowd, like people just
Yeah.
there to be on the boardwalk and not watch the marathon.
Yeah.
So I was just like kind of running at people when people were like looking at me like, "Oh, there's a runner." It's like, "Yeah, I'm running a marathon."
Yeah.
But
He's got
yeah,
done his
no,
morning run.
exactly. Yeah. And so that was my marathon experience for the first one. I joke because I think afterwards I did say the words that I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
And now I'm I think 4 marathons in, and
Yeah.
I'm still going. So it's a fun journey.
Yeah, I don't know. they've got to study like the psychological kind of like what goes on like the day
Yeah.
after you do it or like 2 days after you do it
Yeah.
because I remember feeling like yeah like that was tough. Like I need to take a bit before I do it, then the next one, and then I literally signed up for another one
Yeah.
probably 2 weeks after because I was like, I need something else. Like I need to feel that again.
Yeah. For me, the thing was like, man, I screwed that up and
Yeah.
I can do that better.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what it was for me, at least from the first to the second, because even in the second, just based on life, I did like minimal
Mm-hmm.
miles that I could just because I was busy with life. So it was like 3 times a week, one long one tempo, one track day, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And I knew halfway through the train up that it was just going to be better just because I had learned from
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened the first time.
Yeah.
I was running less miles, but I knew what I was doing to an extent, and so it was obviously much better. Still hit the wall. I'd say that one was like a kind of soft-ish brick wall, but I still got through it.
Yeah.
But the great things about doing this again and again is that you get to learn from the things that you do each time, and
Yeah.
that's probably one of the funner parts of this journey.
Yeah. I think that's easily one of my favorite parts about marathon training is the fact that like you're never going to do it perfectly in terms of like your preparation, even like race day and like how and everything. So like the fact that you can take that and learn for your next one always makes always improves something, you know? Like maybe your race fuel the night before wasn't as great, but your race fuel during because you learned last time that you need to do different kinds of gels is like, you know, so much better. It's like those types of things that I love about like learning through my marathon training. Like you're always gonna have something that you want to improve for the next one.
Yeah, it's all about different experiences, and I'm still learning on the fourth one. It's crazy. I'm messing around with different gels, just trying to figure out what's best for me. And so while I'm doing that, I'm trying to figure it out so I can get faster and get better the next time. To go into a little bit what we're talking about now, let's talk about training specifically. And so, do you develop your own training plans, or how do you come up with those?
Yeah, so the I for my first one I used my mom gave me just this like marathon book and was like, here's some plans for like sub 3:30, sub 3:15. And I just followed one of those. And now I develop my own because I feel like I've gotten a really good grasp of like how my legs feel, how much training I can do, how much mileage I can do per week. So I've started to for the last 4 marathons I've done my own plan.
Yeah, and do you like doing 16 or 20? What's your sweet spot?
I think usually mine's 14 to 16. It just kind of depends on like the race before. So I was kind of dumb and signed up for 3 marathons within like 5 months. So I just
That's
was
tough.
like hitting it back to back to back,
Yeah,
which is good because you don't have to build up such a big base.
yeah,
You're not starting from so much lower, but it's also like
yeah,
when my legs are like, when are you going to give me a rest type of
yeah.
thing. So yeah, so usually I'll do like a 14 to 16 week build.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's usually my plan.
yeah. For any new runners, don't do that.
Don't do that. Do
Don't do
not
that.
do that.
Yeah, please don't do that. Yeah, it's funny because like you'll see on social media, and nothing against people on social media, but you'll see people do. There's a couple major marathons that are like back to back with, I believe, Boston and New York. No, Boston and
London or like back to back weekends.
London. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Boston and London are back to back weekends, and I think New York and another one are pretty close together. And so people are just doing back to back marathons, and I'm just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that sounds rough.
Yeah, I think you got to be. I guess I caught the bug, and so I was like, sign up for this, sign up for this, sign up for
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and then now I'm like, all right, let's do maybe like we're gonna do like two a year. We're gonna
two a
do
year.
a
Yeah,
fall and maybe like an earlier spring one, and then
yeah,
we're gonna take a little bit of time to
yeah,
rest.
yeah. I think that's a sweet spot. I think even like a half where you're trying to PR, and then a
Hmm.
full. Like I think the last 2 years I've done the full and full,
Hmm.
with like some half sprinkled in as like checks.
Yeah.
Trying to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the full and the full for me is like that's peak, and then I think a sweet spot would be like marathon and then half, just to see where I'm at with a half.
Hmm.
And I think I'm also interested in like 5Ks.
Yeah.
I think coming off of this extended injury, I think I want to build up, see where I get with 5K, see where I get with the half marathon, and then
Mhm.
see where I get with the full. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. I haven't signed up for any races, but
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. What was the injury that you had?
The weird thing was is that it was a foot injury. I think there was like some plantar fasciitis,
Yeah.
but I personally thought what I was feeling in my foot felt like a stress fracture. And I
Mm.
was like, if this is what a fracture feels like, this is what I think it is. But I got an X-ray and they were like, nope, no stress fracture, nothing. And so I was
Mm.
just like, okay, it still feels funny. I guess I'll just stretch more. And so it's gone away since, and I'm running again. But that was a tough period of just like I knew something was wrong, so I just took off probably like 4 to 6 weeks
Mm. Yeah,
of
yeah.
running.
Yeah, the
Um,
foot injuries are so tough.
yeah, but I think we're in the right direction, and hopefully we'll keep this injury away and stay a little bit healthy through the summer and then into the fall.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I also, I noticed that you like to incorporate a lot of strength training. I'm trying to get back into the strength training. What does strength training look like for you while you're developing your own running plans?
Yeah, I'm usually doing some sort of strength training 3 to 4 times a week. Um, I most leg exercises are just around, like, maintenance, like, trying
Hmm.
to keep as much muscle as possible and also
Yeah.
injury prevention, doing a lot of, knee stability and just working around. I have very tight hamstrings. That's, like, the one thing
Hmm.
that I've had to battle with a bit, so just a lot of hamstring strengthening and flexibility, a lot of mobility and things like that, and then obviously just doing some upper body 3 times a week, is more or less kind of what I'm running lifting wise.
Yeah. And so, while you were playing soccer in college compared to, running and lifting now, what are the biggest differences between, coming from a structured college experience to kind of building your own fitness world?
Yeah. I think that, when you have practice every single day and designated lifts for your team, you can kind of just like mindlessly go through it and not have to think too much about any sort of structure because it's all there for you. And so after like my freshman year, I got really into like strength training, just like going to the gym. I never did it before. I really did not like lifting and like as a soccer player in high school, I was like, why
Yeah.
do I have to lift? Like I'm a
Yeah.
soccer player. Look at Lionel Messi. Does he lift? Like
Yeah.
I would say look at Ronaldo, but he definitely lifts. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, no. So I was like, I don't really get it. And then when I got into college and I started going to the gym, I was like, I love this. Like I love going to the gym. And like
Yeah.
obviously when you start going to the gym, you start seeing the newbie gains as they like to call it at first. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of infectious to like start going as much as possible. But I think through that, and balancing soccer, I just kind of learned how to listen to my body and
Mm.
kind of understand how to balance strength training with, endurance like soccer and then with running. So it's been a lot of just like trial and error of
Yeah.
like, okay, if I'm gonna have a hard effort on Saturday with my long run, I probably don't want to hit legs from Wednesday on because I don't want to be sore. So just structuring it around that helps a lot. And so I've learned a lot about, how my body responds to that. I definitely at first took a while to recover. Like I think that my legs just running has such a hard impact on your legs
Hmm.
that I needed to understand that impact of the running before I could really develop a plan that works for me, strength training wise, specifically lower body.
Yeah, and that's for someone who you know grew up like lifting a lot, because football is a sport that you're required to lift, whether
Yeah.
you play quarterback or running back or lineman. Like lifting is part of how to get better. Um, I'm one that doesn't do well lifting as a runner. I get in the gym and I want to lift like a sports player or footballer or whatever. So that's something I need to get better at.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and you wanna always prioritize the running because you were like, I don't want any of this to mess up, how I'm feeling tomorrow for my speed workout or something
Yeah.
like that. So I've always got that mentality too. But yeah, I mean, lifting it's essential one for for me, it's just like the mental health aspect that comes with lifting. Like I just love the feeling of being able to move some weight around, and two, because I've seen a marathon prep without really lifting, and I've seen a marathon prep with lifting, and it's night and day how my legs feel and how I'm preventing injuries. So, got to get it done at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely helpful. And so we've talked a lot about, going through training, going through college sports. What has the biggest surprise been transitioning to endurance sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think you with running, I think it's one, like I played soccer, obviously, so it's a lot of impact on your legs, but it's just such a different impact on with running. And I also think completely taken away from the training and anything. Like I just have met so many people who have been through similar things that I was going through and they found running. And it's just really cool to see that. And I think that that's one of my favorite things about running is that like it's like all encompassing. Like anybody can go out and run.
Hmm.
And like I think that that's just the coolest thing is you'll be out on a run or you'll meet someone on a run and they talk about their journey of how they were a college athlete or they were how they got into running and like that's to me been the coolest aspect is I think that running is like truly a community thing.
Yeah, and with running comes different types of struggles. And so what has been the biggest struggle so far? You said you've run 5 marathons. I think your recent one was Paris, right?
Yeah.
What's been the biggest struggle in this journey?
Yeah, I think it's not being the best, and I
Yeah.
think that that's a really hard thing to wrap your head around at first. I played college soccer. I mean, I'd like to think I was a good soccer player. I got accolades. I did all these types of things. And then you come into running, and it's like, hey, buddy, I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm
Yeah.
I'm faster than you. I know more than you. Like all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. And I think that that's kind of the hardest thing that a lot of people have to get used to. Is like you kind of have to swallow your ego and be like, I know less than a lot of people, and I'm gonna try and learn, and I'm gonna try and you know get better. But at the same time, like I know that a lot of these guys know so much more. So how can I learn from the people who have been doing this for a while? The perfect example is my mom has been running for probably 25 years now.
Yeah.
And she's telling me, well, like, think you should be like thinking about this and doing this. And I'm like, yeah, mom, like I played college soccer. Like I was a Division 1 athlete. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. And then after a run, I'll be like, oh my God, you were so right. Like, wow,
Yeah.
I needed to do this. So I think that that's been a big struggle. And I think that truly like comparing myself to others has been a big thing to get used to. I think we live, in the social media era where people are posting their Stravas and their marathon times, and now everybody's running marathons, and you're like, oh, did I run a faster time than that person? And that's just like I came to realize pretty quickly that just does not matter. Like that just really does not matter. What matters is getting out there, doing something that is hard, doing something that is going to make you a better person, make you, just a better individual overall. And ultimately, no one is going to compare you with your marathon time. It's just the fact that you're doing something hard that is, you know, not a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, I can definitely share some of that sentiment. For me, I think, after my second marathon, I still, my first marathon was just kind of like a blur, but then my second
Yeah.
marathon, I could kind of like understand what was going on and who I was running with. And that was when I realized like, it doesn't matter what size, shape, form you are, if you train hard, you can do this well. I think, when I got to my second marathon, I was like, okay, let me stay with this race group, this pace group. And the pace group had, men, women, young, old, big, small, and I was just like running, and then, I hit that like soft brick wall, and I'm like, well, there's this guy here who's like 6 foot and like two something who doesn't look like he's a runner, but he's like leaving me in the dust. And so like
Yeah.
you realize it's like this is not about like the biggest looking, strongest, fastest looking guy out there. It's about, who's putting in the work in these races and getting the miles in and being able to last, past that wall. So that's
Yeah.
one I quickly learned, because, you can have terrible form, but if that terrible form gets you, down the street on that marathon, then, good on you.
Yeah, I think that that's such a good point, and I think that, like, that's why I say, like, running is a community because it's not about comparing yourself with other people, it's about you guys are all doing something. We're all doing something that is making us better, it's good for your mental health, it's good for your physical health, brings together so many different types of people, and I think that that is what matters most, not your times, not how your distance, not anything. It's the fact that you can go down the street, meet someone who you might not have met if you weren't running ever, go on a run with them, talk about them, learn about them. That to me is the most special thing about running, not the times or the medals or anything.
Yeah. And so a little bit outside of running, you've gone from, trying to be a professional athlete to now running marathons. How's that fit into your day-to-day life? I think you talked before on social media about a 9 to 5. What does that look like for you as prepare to, do your real life and then do, kind of your running life?
Yeah, I mean, it's for anyone who works, kind of a typical 9 to 5. I work in like tech sales and I work remote, so I think it does have a little bit more flexibility than someone who works like in an office. I did used to work in an office and then worked remotely. I think it's really just about making it a priority. You have that set schedule of 9 to 5, which I think there's a lot of, kind of scrutiny behind it, but I think to some degree it does provide a lot of people structure, which is really good for a lot of people because I think they need it. And so it's just about making the time. Do you want to go for a run in the dead of winter at 6:30 a.m.? Not really. But like, I mean, I don't know anybody who's jazzed about running in the middle of January.
Yeah.
I mean, you know the Virginia weather. It can be
Yeah.
freezing here. So like, I mean, I don't think anybody's jazzed about doing that, but if it's a priority to you, if it's something that you truly care about, you're going to make the time. And I think that utilizing that time before and after work is so crucial. I think that with having this 9 to 5 job, I've learned to prioritize my health through it. So, going for walks during my lunch period,
Yeah.
taking that 10 to 15-minute break where I'm away from a screen, I'm getting outside, I'm, moving my body, things like that. Like having this job has taught me to even more prioritize my health and even more
Yeah.
prioritize everything that I need to be doing because marathon training, running just in general, does take up a lot of time. It takes up a lot of energy. And so you have to figure out good ways to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, throughout the day. And so I think I always say that, you have to be prioritizing your 5 to 9 and your before your 9 to 5 and after your 9 to 5. What are you doing during those times to, continue your progress and get better?
Yeah, and another thing that I've noticed that you've prioritized is your addiction to fashion. And so
Yeah.
what stemmed that love for fashion that you've shown on social media?
Yeah, I love addiction is a phenomenal word. I think anybody who knows me would say I definitely have some sort of addiction to fashion and buying clothing. No, it's just something that I've always been interested in. I've always cared about the clothing that I'm wearing. I'm not going to say that I've had the best style
Yeah.
ever. Like I think I have good style now. It has definitely been a work in progress,
Yeah.
but I have always, cared about what I was wearing and like looking, put together and things like that. And it didn't really start the fashion, like, kind of addiction didn't really start until, like, a couple of years ago, when I started just, like, really, like, researching it and looking into it and learning a lot about it, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's a really, really cool kind of hobby that I have that I've really enjoyed. I also love when, I have friends who are like, "Hey, I've got this event. Like, what should I wear?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "All right, I'm your guy. Like, let's look through
Yeah.
that wardrobe. Let's see what you got going on." So it's kind of cool to be kind of the fashion friend as well. So yeah, it's just something that I've always been super, super interested in. And I think it's also funny because you're kind of seeing a push for fashion in running now.
Yeah, I
Like
was gonna get I was gonna get
everybody's
there, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I saw the video you posted with the bandit long sleeve. I was like,
Yeah.
he's hip.
Yeah,
He
that's
knows that
that's
like
my
that's
that's my little taste of fashion for you.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, and do you feel like you're gonna dabble into that world? I think there's a lot of brands that are combining fashion and running, really well, and I think a lot of people are loving it, whether it's like Satisfy and their mesh. I don't think it's mesh, but it's moth tech.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, Bandit with different types of pop-ups going everywhere. All
Yeah.
these smaller brands are using fashion in the running scene,
Yeah.
which is really cool. Do you think that you're
Yeah.
going to dabble into that world?
Yeah, I mean, they can hit me up whenever they want if if they want me to
Yeah,
dabble in that world. Yeah,
yeah,
no, definitely. I mean, I think it's a cool, like, extra thing that you can add to the running. I mean, it's we yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and I think it's for a lot of people, including myself, like, it can be that extra thing that makes it even more enjoyable. You put on a
yeah,
cool fit. Like, I'm totally of the belief that you look good, feel good, play good. Like,
yeah.
that's a huge thing for me. So I do think that, like, it is a nice little extra kinda aspect to the running game that you can add and have a lot of fun with. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely. They just gotta lower their prices a little bit, but other than
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I can't be buying these shirts every month because they'll get the bank account going crazy.
Exactly, exactly.
But I think that fashion and running is an interesting place, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I'm excited to see even more competitors. I know there was like what was the brand currently running was
Mm,
getting like a little bit of flack in the news in the running news world with how similar it looks to Satisfy. So I'm
yeah.
interested to see the drama and how other all these brands are working together to
Yeah.
to start making fashion in the running world.
Yeah, it's cool because they take a lot of, like, people have been taking a lot of, like, what's popular in the non-running world, the
Yeah.
kind of oversized, cropped,
Yeah.
baggy kind of fits, and they're putting that into running gear, which is very cool because I think for the longest time running gear was kind of like everybody just wore these super bright colors and you'd
Yeah.
have orange shoes with green
Yeah.
socks and blue shorts and like
Yeah.
that was like the norm in running and I think you're kind of seeing that shift which I think is really cool cuz
Yeah.
you can put on a cool fit that you can go for a run in and then you can go get a coffee in and then you can hang out with your friends in like that's a cool thing to be able to wear and stuff.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about, how you've come up, your experience in college, your endurance world experience. So wrapping that all up into one little thing, what piece of advice would you give anybody that's transitioning from college sports to endurance sports, whether it's running, triathlons, spiking? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think that if I could give one piece of advice, anyone, I think it would probably be to don't compare yourself to others. I think that we've touched on it before, but we live in an age where everybody's kind of posting what they're doing endurance wise on social media, including myself. And I think that if you're getting into endurance sports like for the first time ever, you're not going to be great probably. And I think that that's an important thing to know is that like all these people who you're seeing on social media who you might be comparing yourselves to, they've probably been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years. And so I think just realizing that what you're doing is for yourself and it's benefiting you. And I think that ultimately that's all that matters is the fact that you're going out there, you're doing something hard, you're pushing yourself, you're doing something that not a lot of people are doing. It might look like in the grand scheme of things, everybody's going for runs, but like in reality, it's not a lot of people. So you're already in that top, 4, 5, 6% of people who are doing something hard during the day. So I think that for me, just don't compare yourself to other people. Enjoy it. It's fun. It's so much fun. It really is. And it doesn't matter if you're running a 2:30 marathon or you're running a 5-hour marathon. The marathon is fun regardless. Running is fun regardless. And I think it's yeah, just enjoy your own journey because your journey is only you. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to take that advice sometimes myself too. So I
Yeah.
think, a lot of people that are listening to this will really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um,
What's your piece of advice? I want to hear what you got.
ooh, what's my piece of advice? I have a lot of things to say, but I think, the biggest thing is trust the process,
Mm,
especially when it comes to the marathon. I think when you run a half, you can kind of see where you're at because you'll probably run like an 11 miler. You even run like, I've had half train ups where I'll do a 14 miler, and so you can kind of see like, okay, this is where I'm at with the half. But with the full, like you got to trust the process, but you also have to, manage expectations. So my
mm,
last marathon, I tried to manage my expectations just based on what I was doing in my train up.
Mhm.
So that's why I don't have a amazing watch. I have a really old Garmin, but it does what it needs to do. It tells me what
Yeah.
I ran and what I ran 2 weeks ago, and then what I ran a month ago. Like you don't need to get too in the weeds with what you're running, but see what you're running, understand how that felt. Trust your process, and if you're running like good track days, if you're running good tempo days, then understand that the miles they're gonna add up,
Mhm.
and when they add up, it's gonna all come together on race day. So you just have to trust the process, but you also have to understand that race day is a wild card. So like
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
can go well during your train up, and race day could just not go well. Something can
Yeah.
happen, but still trust the process. And then if you decide that you want to do it again, you know, trust the process even more. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I'll tell people.
Yeah, and I think that that's such a great point, and I think that a big lesson that I've learned through marathon training and everything is, like, the race day is great and it's fun and it's so exciting, but like the where you learn about yourself and where you get better and where everything that is all in the training. It's all
Yeah.
in the weeks, the months that are leading up to the race day. And like you said, there's so much of race day that is completely out of your control.
Hmm.
The lines in the bathroom are going to be super, super long.
Yeah.
Your gel might not be working properly on like
Yeah.
when you need it, like it's just how that's just how the beauty and the awful parts of running is that like race day is unpredictable, but the
Yeah.
stuff that matters and the stuff that's going to teach you so much is the stuff that the work you're putting in the process.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I just recently did the Cherry Blossom 10 miler,
Hmm.
and there was a guy in front of me that dropped two of his gels. I was able to pick one up, but like I told the guy, I was like, "Hey, look, you dropped one. Yeah, you're gonna need something along the
Yeah,
way. So if you see someone with a gel, like grab it because you just
yeah,
lost one." But it like that could happen. I've seen people leave all their gels like before the race, and so it's just like the race day is something else.
yeah. It is. It's a great experience, but yeah, like you said, manage your expectations because so much of it is out of your control. But just trust you've done the training, trust you've done what you need to do, and it'll be fun regardless.
Yeah. And so I know you just did the Paris Marathon, which we talked about already, but do you have anything else up on your schedule?
I am most likely going to be running the Nice Marathon in France
Oh,
in
nice.
November, which would be
Yeah.
really really cool. And then I entered the ballot for London. We'll see if I get in.
Yep.
But
Fingers crossed.
if I don't do that, I'm probably going to do Buenos Aires in Argentina in like April or March, which would be really
Wow.
cool.
Lots of travel. Well, we didn't even
Yeah.
talk about this. That's
Well,
three international races right there.
yeah, I always said that I wanted to see the world through soccer,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen, so I'm
Yeah.
using running as a way to see the world because I think it's a really fun way to kind of experience different places, and it's pretty awesome. So I said to myself I want to run marathons in fun, cool places that I either haven't been to or want to visit again. So that's kind of my mentality about it now.
Yeah. I love that mentality. I have a friend who's done Barcelona, so
Oh,
I think I'll have to connect you.
yeah, that would be cool. I would love to do Barcelona. I've never been. I've never
Yeah.
been, so I would love to do that. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have races coming up or no?
yeah, so for me, I have New York,
Oh,
but I
nice.
I want a few races in between that I haven't scheduled.
Mhm.
So,
That's
like I
so
mentioned
cool.
earlier, I'm going to try and do a 5K, like hard. I think my reach goal is breaking 20,
Mm,
and then half marathon at some point, and I think that one is doable, just a PR,
mhm.
and then hopefully going to New York strong with a tough course, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens there.
New York's a bucket list one for sure.
Yeah,
That'll be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It should be a good summer, spring, fall, and hopefully, I think my biggest goal is just to stay healthy. So I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
of things that I don't normally do, with dynamic stretching and
Mhm.
dynamic warm ups, strength training, just working everything, hips below and focusing on keeping the legs strong.
Yeah. stay healthy. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. But, all things come to an end. And Lev, it's been such a great conversation. So, where can people find you um, on Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram is live with Lev and then a little underscore. I post, running, fashion, kind of just like healthy lifestyle content. So yeah, if you're looking for a good Instagram page to follow, hit follow live with Lev underscore, follow Running State University for some good content as
That's
well.
right.
But yeah, no, this was so much fun. I really appreciate it. And I think that these conversations are they're going to reach a bigger audience than I think a lot of people might think, because I think a lot of people are in these situations where they're not sure what they want to do next and get into endurance sports, and these conversations are good for a lot of people. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great story. And I like I said earlier, you would think all these stories are the same, but they're so different. And I really appreciate your story, and I think people will like to hear it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Lev. Well, it's been good. Thanks for coming on the Retired Athlete Mentality podcast, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.